Motion to approve the August 16th, 2023 meeting minutes.
Second.
Yeah, you guys, any other considerations? Nothing? All in favor? Say aye.
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 Opposed? Passed. Approved. All right, our next thing is public hearing and consideration of a request for a conditional use permit to allow a special purpose fence to exceed the maximum height of 3 feet within the front yard setback of a transitional residential zoning district pursuant to zoning 14-6-5, property address of 645 South Second Street, assessor parcel 208052078, case UP-23-07.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair, Commissioners. I appreciate you hearing this item this evening. As Paul mentioned, we do have the applicant, possibly a neighbor and support in the audience.
Can we try?
This is a conditional use permit. So after initial presentation, unless you see another way like this presented this evening, we would hear from the applicant, and then you can open it up for public hearing to see if any members of the public have intended to express any feelings about this project.
Hey Dana, if you can use your outdoor voice right now, we're trying to get the volume up, but
Yeah, you're really muffled.
yeah.
Sound like you're talking from across the room.
Okay, is that a little bit better?
Yeah.
All right, excellent.
Not really.
Well, okay, not really.
I'm gonna go no.
I'll make sure I speak loudly.
I'm not hearing what you guys are hearing. It sounds great to me.
Oh, up here it doesn't sound so
Yeah,
so loud.
It was just quiet. And we
Yeah.
even had the audience ask for it to be louder.
Yeah. So just make it painfully loud back there. We'll be fine.
All right. So moving along, this is a conditional use permit request for a special fence, which our zoning code is well familiar with by now, provides. This particular request is for, sorry, we're getting ahead of ourselves here. It's for this property located at 645 South Second Street. We're basically between Second Street and Monroe. I'll quickly just show you each one. Here's Monroe, Second Street, here's Ash, and then South Street. We're looking at this parcel right here. The applicant has been planning to construct a 6-foot fence along this common property line with this abutting property owner. For the most part, the purpose of that fence is to provide additional screening and security from the adjacent property, which has had some code violations, multiple code violations. They're a habitual offender, actually. We've had a number of issues over the years. I understand, including a fire at one point. This owner has been in the code compliance process, as I mentioned, in court at least twice, and I know there's one more court date scheduled. I may have included that information in your staff report, or may have not. But anyway, the primary reason for the violations are the storing of materials like stacking pallets and things like that, which we have plenty of pictures of. I think the applicant submitted a narrative that you should have received yesterday via email. That was much more involved in the explanation of what their experience is, including photography. I will add that a lot of material has been remediated, removed from the property. And I do, like I said, I have before and after pictures if you're at all necessary, but I'll try and stay focused on this request for the initial presentation. So that front 20 feet, front yard setback, property zone TR, transitional residential zoning district. These are all single family houses on this street, my apologies. Single family homes on the street. That front 20 feet, as you are aware, is a front yard setback. As such, there is a 3-foot maximum wall fence height restriction for the reasons we've discussed recently. The Balam, the applicant's property, looking at that common property line, you can see their column or polyfill straddling the property line at one time. And then the metal post wire type fence here, or metal rope fence, if you will. It's probably, God, I can't imagine, more than 67 years old, possibly. The applicant at one time had constructed this, and I believe it's been in the last 5 or 8 years, this corrugated metal fence with a wood frame, you see here. We don't have any record of permit for any application for that. You can see in the rear of the property here, where the applicant, or where, I believe the abutting property owner had a wood picket fence that is deteriorating, obviously, and it's leaning into the property, the applicant's property. And then you covered that with, the corrugated metal also. These are 8-foot sections, between posts. I estimated that front setback line to be right around here at 20 feet. Keep in mind, typical automotive parking space is about 18 feet or 18 and a half in below. That's our ordinance. So usually that first 18, 20 feet is, can be a parking space if you want parking behind your house or further back into the lot. Seems like both of these properties park here. I think the applicant usually stores their RV in this location, and this right again, that property.
Dana, it's Tracy, can I interrupt you for just a second?
Yes.
The applicant, you just said that that's the applicants do the corrugated fence, and you're shaking your head no.
No.
So is that,
Butting property with the corrugated
okay,
metal.
all right, I'm just correcting that. All right,
The-
Thank you for
the
clarifying
whole-
that, Tracy.
I'm sorry?
Thank you for clarifying that, because I know the documentation said that it was the neighbor that built it, not
Yeah,
that.
so yeah,
yeah.
okay.
My
Dana
apologies.
just misspoke.
The
No, no
metal
worries.
bollards, I believe the metal black, the applicant's property.
And that would be an affirmative.
Everything beyond there appears to be the neighboring properties.
Okay, thank you, sorry to interrupt.
Construction. No, I might have mistaken, a little wrong here. Okay, and now I'll just take you for a view on that side of the property. Again, this is where that neighbor usually parks their vehicle. That's that corrugated metal fence that he's erected. That front fence, given that we see a car in the spot, it's probably about the 20-foot setback line in back here. And there you see the neighbors with the applicant's RV. That is the type of fence they're proposing. It's a 6-foot tall metal product that we have specs for. Again, that can be built and permitted yesterday, with the exception of that front 20 feet, which is why you have this application before you. They would like to build full 6-foot height all the way up to that, what I believe would be probably the column that you see on that prior page, this column. So about basically it's in place of the metal corrugated fence the neighbor constructed. I'll back up one. You do see in the rear here that there are supports. The applicant has erected supports that keep the neighboring corrugated fence off their property or upright. In some way, there's several supports. I see 1, 2, 3, 4, there's 4 or 5 locations where they're supporting that fence. You saw in my staff report where I mentioned that I'm working with code compliance on their court proceeding, and just understanding where they're at. I was told that the fence, and not specifically this fence, but the fence violation was thrown out by the judge, probably because I believe it was the enforcement focus was on the rear alley fence section of that neighboring property. So once they saw the court saw some remediation of that fence and cleanup to some extent, they went ahead and removed that violation. Well, in my report, I think obviously this is beyond a maintenance issue. We're looking also at a life safety issue potentially with giving the support and leading of that fence into their property. So I was interested to pursue refiling the violation. However, since I wrote the report, actually yesterday, I believe, I was able to contact that adjacent property owner to have a conversation with them. And this was something that the applicant expressed to me earlier in the process, that they were talking about them reconstructing or constructing a fence that's proposed here, and then removing this metal fence. Well, he wasn't interested in the applicant, I think, dealing with that corrugated metal fence, so they're gonna move forward regardless. Obviously, once these supports are taken down, there's gonna be a structural issue going on here. We need the contractor to do the work, will need to obviously remove a lot of this existing fencing. So I reached out and, he said, yes, I'll be happy to remove that fence when you need to remove and time that with the construction of the fence. So we do have a confirmation that all of that corrugated wood and this old dilapidated wood to the rear property line, where the proposed fence will go, will be removed by that property owner. The metal posts, I would presume, are going to be frankly more as the applicant's responsibility, but I'll leave that up to them. So I did receive that confirmation, so that somewhat negates that portion of my staff report where I discuss continued code compliance efforts with regards to this fence. I think this column is pretty much at 3 feet. Looks like this fence is built at 3 feet. In this neighborhood and surrounding neighborhoods seem to have maintained that 3-foot height, be it several or chain link. But I'd be happy to take you, I can take you for a quick tour around the neighborhood. There is one property directly across the street that does have a 6-foot fence. Which is that fence directly across the street. It's a large, older, historic type structure, all the neighboring lots. Well, I think most likely, and something we had briefly discussed in a prior meeting regarding what kind of codes when we look at that with regards to front yard fences. I think they look at, excuse me, I'm going to zoom out here for a second so hold your cookies. One more time. Sorry, that one. This is the home we're talking about. And they basically use they have a swimming pool. They use that, what would be the frontage over here, as their rear yard. Obviously, that was swimming pool, you're required to have a full enclosure. This is probably, that pool's probably 30 years old, I'd imagine, at least. So anyway, at that time, they may have probably received a permit for that fence, because it was enclosing that what they use as a rear yard. So with that, I'll just quickly zoom around. You see this existing fence across the street is pretty consistent on both sides of the street. Like picket or building, low fence. All the rest of the way down that street. I haven't gone back here. Now we're getting to the wash over there. Here we go. And then this is on Monroe. Very similar, that we've got that openness on top with some solid fence below and a remodel. Where we go? Retaining wall with picket fence above. There's the rear of that fence that's been included to the extent where the judge no longer felt it was a violation. So with that, we can keep on running around the neighborhood if you like, but I gotta say, I was impressed that the adherence to our to the 3-foot maximum height is probably in place. It's been in place since the 60s, early 60s. With that, one other thing I'll just point out that we're looking at, this is one of our unique roadways where we actually have a separated sidewalk from the back curb with a tree-lined planter in the middle. That's just that is just a nice streetscape section, a roadway section, for our older community like this and for any community for that matter. So that's just one to point out something there we always look for. So with that, staff is providing a recommendation. Obviously, we've had a lot of conversation recently on fence heights and front yard setbacks and the reason for those. If the community commission wishes to support this, based on the fact that this is being requested primarily due to a changing circumstance with the property and their maintenance. Staff's committed to continuing to press code compliance on that property for, years to come, to make sure we don't have the accumulation of things in wood and flammables and, that accumulates over the years in more than one occurrence, situation. So staff has a recommendation for, if the POD would like to approve it, I would approve it with a limitation of 2 years to bring it back at that time to see if we can continue to have an ongoing property maintenance problem there. I did ask Chief Robinson to attend as well as the applicant's greatest concern, you probably picked up on their updated narrative, is fire hazard. So Chief Robinson is available, should you have any questions with regards to how that fence might provide any fire protection. So with that said, we have to respond to any questions. And again, it will be a public hearing after our discussion.
Any questions?
I have a question. Dana, if you'll just state it right there on that screen. So the, just to be clear about visibility for parking and that sort of thing, where the RV is on the left-hand side of the screen, and there's a white column right there, that's where the proposed fence would end, correct? So a vehicle coming out of that driveway would still have, let's say, 6 feet of visibility turning onto the road. Is that correct?
Correct. It
Okay.
just about that. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. That's I think the only question I have.
Chief, do you have anything you want to say before we open to the public? No. Okay, any other questions? All right. We'll open the public hearing. Nora and Frank, please. Come down toward you so we can hear you.
Yeah.
Okay, so we just go up there?
And tap it and make sure it's on. It should be on. So pull it down and, yep, and then they'll pull it towards you.
Yeah, pull it toward you.
Yeah, there you go.
Hope is passion for what is possible. Kierkegaard. Second Street, we are at a point where it is obvious that the present conditions next door are unlikely to change substantially. We are requesting a newer 6-foot fence to replace or cover the neighbor's older 6-foot fence that is falling down. The code has a CUP application to do with exceptions for extenuating circumstances. The sustained conditions of blight, causing unsafe and unsanitary conditions next door require an exception to the 3-foot rule of law on the side yard frontage to allow us to install a protective fence. I just want to say that most of the fences that were shown in the front yards, we are definitely just doing the side yard. Several of our neighbors came by and they were thinking that it was front yard we were talking about. It is the side yard. It's not the front yard that was shown in the Google Earth. The barrier will simply the barrier will simply separate our neighbors' choices from ours with a sturdy, succinct, and structural fence boundary. With a 6-foot fence, it is more likely that our neighbor's lifestyle will stop at our property line. It'll just stop at our property line and allow our home to be a home. Please allow us to protect ourselves from harm and stop the overflowing. Important to our lives. Please allow us to hope. I thank you for your consideration and your time, and this was brief.
Definitely kept it under 3 minutes.
Very good. Would you like to have something to say? Or are you sure it's sports?
I didn't fill anything out, but so I have 3 minutes.
You're part of the public.
I will say something.
Identify yourself, please, and your address.
Okay, all right. Hello, I'm Cecilia Gabrielli,
has the pool. And that 6-foot fence was there when I moved in, and I've been there over 30 years. And for the 30 years that I've been there, these folks, the neighbors that are on the side of Frank and Nora's house have also lived there and have not been, neighbors. And so fire at that residence, the fire department has had to come and squelch a fire that was set on the inside of the home as well as on the outside of the home. So at least 2. And Nora and Frank had to put a metal roof on their home to protect their home, and now they are trying again to protect their home from their neighbors, who you all should know all about. Everybody that lives on that street knows about. And there are 6-foot fence that comes into the front yard. It doesn't detract from anything. In fact, it's just to help them protect their home. And if it's not a detriment, then what would be the reason to deny it? Now, I can see if it's harming someone, but if it's not harming anyone, and in fact will protect someone, I don't understand why it would be overruled. I don't understand why it wouldn't be approved. And as a neighbor, I just wanted to say, this is gonna help not only Frank and Nora, but maybe even draw some more attention to this problem that we've been facing for many years and that you all know about. And so we hope that you will consider it. And thank you very much for listening to me.
Questions, comments, concerns?
One thing,
Absolutely.
I'm Frank Bale, one of the applicants, and I would like to, as Dana said, I think part of his recommendation is for time to put up this fence in place and then review it in 2 years. I thought, and we were just discussing with the contractor today, was to actually have a 3-foot fence, 20 feet, then split, whether the panel overlays each other, so that the top 3 feet, should our neighbours comply eventually, and we've been there 28 years, and it's been continuous. But should they eventually comply, or should in 50 years we all be gone, then the top part of the fence could come off, the rail drop, and you go to the 3 foot. Because we're all here to do the same thing, to improve the neighborhood. You know, and these are all places they need to love them and take care of them and improve them at their own gradually as best they can. And that's what we've been doing, and that would help us feel secure for now and maybe hopefully in the future. Keep you people happy as well. Anyway, thank you.
Thank you. Shelley, do you have anybody that has anything to say to
Check it out.
No?
I don't have anything, Chair.
We have nothing else going on, so I'm gonna close the public hearing. So it is closed. Does anyone on the commission have anything else to say?
I think that it's very sad that they have to go to
Right.
this point in order to even feel safe and secure in their home. I think that they are trying.
Microphone.
Can you
Move
put,
your microphone.
pull, yeah,
Yeah, there you go. So you're on
I
record.
did the same thing. Is it on?
go start
And,
over.
I feel sad that they had to go through this to begin with, and you can obviously tell that one of the applicants is very passionate about that, with feeling security in their home. So I'm glad that they did bring this in with the conditional use permit, and I, for one, think that until situations get resolved with the neighbor, which doesn't look like it's going to be anytime soon, that they deserve to have this granted so that they can move on with their lives and not have to deal with their neighbor as much as they are right now.
Art, Mary, Justin, anything?
I have a question. I agree with Debbie's sentiments. My heart goes out to them that this issue has been going on for this long, 30 years. That's unbelievable. One of the questions I have, it has to do with the staff recommendation of reviewing or rather granting the CUP for only 2 years. So my guess is that this is not a cheap fence. It does not look like a cheap fence. And I don't think they're gonna be wanting to tear it down in 2 years. If this issue's been going on for 30 years, depending on the age and health of the neighbor, it's not gonna change anytime soon. What is the benefit to the city to putting that short of a time frame on this, on this CUP, and why would we just, where did 2 years come from? Is that just kind of like, hey, let's try this, or where's that particular recommendation coming from, if I may?
Madam Chair, Commissioner Lowry, just a meaningful time to see how our code compliance can continue to help improve situation next door. But obviously you could take 5 years. The idea there is that it doesn't become a permanent fixture. Let's say these properties remodel, that particular house gets reconstructed, it's in need, and flips or something like that, at some point. You saw the streetscape, we'd like to think of a more maintained, desirable streetscape along that frontage, and to achieve that and adhere to that 3-foot height max in the front open yard. That's one mechanism to get that. Well, that's probably one of the only mechanisms to achieve that in the future. So 2 years could easily be 5 years.
Well, yeah, that's why you're kind of muffled, Dana, so that's why I was just gonna ask, so could we change it to 5 instead of 2? Because 2, it could take them 8 months to build a fence, and then the next thing you know, they're looking about tearing it down, so it doesn't make sense.
Absolutely, of course, you can do whatever you like, this is a special purpose fence.
Well, they've been
Careful,
dealing
Dana.
with the neighbor's been dealing with court, he's still got a court case pending.
Yeah, for this long, I don't even know why we have a limit on it. And it's a side fence, it's not a front fence, so that's my thoughts.
Keep in mind too, you still have the, if there are children in the neighborhood using that sidewalk, you're gonna have that side visibility issue on the sidewalk. The sidewalk is obviously detached from the curb that we looked at, so. But, people back out of blind spots all the time. We just try to minimize that.
When I drove by today, when I felt like I was creeping up and down the neighborhood, your RV was parked there. Is it parked there almost all the time?
It has been, mainly because it's nicer to look at.
Yeah,
The alternative.
I get it.
However, I will say that the sidewalk in front of the property next door is now so narrow because of overgrowth that I doubt one person every week actually walk on the sidewalk. Everybody walks down the road now. So, but even then, there is quite a space as you're backing up. I don't worry about the RV because I have one of the rear view cameras, but there is quite a space to back up. And you can see quite easily by the time you're out there. I think I think they said 60. I think it's got to be more like 10 feet. I would be very surprised if it was 6. But, so it really isn't that much of a problem because there are no children involved. But then, of course, there's the future. And this is what we're talking about. I was saying, in the future, I want a 3-foot fence, but we just can't. We want to ask you because now we just need it. Anyway, sorry.
No, there's no need to be sorry. So, go ahead, Art.
Madam Chairman, my heart goes out to the applicants. I understand completely why you're asking what you're asking. But I have a question that, and I agree with Dana, there should be some time frame on this. But my question has to do with that fence gives some aid and comfort to the occupant next door who is evidently a nuisance. And does that really encourage the behavior that we want? As an example, we ultimately, as a city, want the area cleaned up. I think we all agree with that. I hate to give a nice chance for that to continue to lean things against and somewhat hide the nuisance. So I throw that out there as a consideration, that we don't encourage the wrong behavior. So I definitely believe in some sort of a time frame to encourage the correction of this issue.
Dana, with that point being made, how often is code enforcement going by this place to make sure they aren't moving with all their junk?
So obviously we've been going through the court process. It's on a regular schedule with dates, critical dates to meet certain obligations, for the judge. After this, obviously my job is to ensure that we can maintain live with our zoning ordinance and our codes. So when we see if we're changing situations or bending codes or things like that to avoid nuisances, well, then I got, that's a priority for me.
So if this guy or this person miraculously cleaned up and the court's got off his back, then would code enforcement stop watching and they could just start sneaking up on us again, or would there still be something going and looking to see what he's piling up?
So I don't oversee code compliance, but Paul obviously.
Yeah.
No, we need to get maybe he'll provide some insight for what his opinion is for code compliance.
And commissioner, members of the commission, just to your point that if there's we're getting rid of a bad fence and putting it with a nice fence. Now, they're still going to lean. That doesn't mean that makes any of the other enforceable issues any less enforceable. It takes one off the platter, but it doesn't let the person off the hook. Now, if they're still loading dilapidated material against somebody else's new fence, it's still blight, and we will still enforce that. Once they're on their radar, if we do get through the process and gets to that point where it's cleaned up, it will still be in our memory. It will be on our radar, and we respond to phone calls and reports. And I would hope that anybody in the neighborhood would say, "Hey, it's happening again," so we can stop it sooner. And it's easier to clean up if we get there earlier. And so, but we do respond to just notifications that, hey, there's a problem, and we'll check it out. And so, as we do in any property, if you're living and your neighbor you believe has a violation, you can get in touch with us, and we'll just take a look, and we will decide whether it does or doesn't. Just because somebody calls us and says, my neighbor's got, a twig on the tree, and it's like, we'll say, well, that's really not, a violation. It doesn't mean that we will respond, but we will keep an eye on it. And if the applicant sees that things are going back to where they were, I would encourage them to let us know, and we'll just we'll judge for ourselves.
To that point, so we would put it on a quarterly visitation, so we'll go by, peek over the fences, and see if the material's coming back. And if we see that happening, jump on it. We've got a visual offender code that has an increased fines, and we just stay on top of that until probably property owner changes or their behavior changes.
Okay, well, I think the only thing I'm uncomfortable with is what you brought up, and that's the 2 years is not long enough. This problem's been going on for what probably feels like a lifetime. 2 years is like that.
I will mention that the Google map that Dana was working from, that film was taken probably about 15 years ago, because since then, probably in excess of 160 fence has been added to on that block and nearby. So it's not,
Yeah, what I was looking at here in the pictures is not what I
It's
saw
not.
today when I drove down the
in
road.
fact,
I agree.
in that film, you can actually still walk down the sidewalk.
Yeah, so yeah, it's wide open, it was not that today when I drove through there. I agree.
Thank you for driving through.
I'm glad you didn't go to creeper, because I went by every time.
Stop and see next.
All right, I will.
To the current photos that went to court, last round. This was completely full of pallets. That fence wasn't visible at all. This is, I don't know where we're looking at here, but in the rear of the property. These cars were covered with pallets. These cars are, going to be removed. In the process, these containers. So,
Dana, didn't you have some, I saw some photographs that the applicants had done that were dated like, I wanna say September 1st. And I
Correct.
know that there was some information in there about some potential cleanup, but the photos that they took, and I did, like Tracy, I drove by yesterday down the street to take a look, and it's still pretty much a hazard and a mini landfill. So that's, I just wanted to make sure that I was reading that correct with regards to the photographs of what I viewed earlier.
And I should quickly
Well,
mention,
this is what we're seeing now. You should have seen a lot of trash bags lined up. I don't know where they're out back or where they were located. Actually, I think they're out front for pickup, and you have to move them out. Here are the before pictures. This was the after. We didn't really see that. That is the front of the house. So that's right behind. So that's the front of the car that we just saw. Right here, here at the Belams. Parcel over here and the fence that's leaning on it, this is what it was prior to this.
may I quickly mention, the photograph you have, Dana, of, the photograph you have there, Dana, of the cars covered in grey covers.
Yes.
Those covers were on for 2 days. They're now back to the carpets. As of today. Yes.
Order is that these are gonna be removed. They're inoperable, they're not under repair, repair cars anyway. Have automotive repair facilities. So anyway, as of now, these are to be removed.
At least those refrigerators aren't. You just bring everything in and dump it in your yard. Definitely a disservice.
So it seems like a CUP seems amenable to the commission with a 5-year time frame. Is that kind of what I'm hearing?
At least 5. I mean, Dana would have to answer that for us, but I mean, I just think 2 years is not nearly enough, especially when this is an ongoing, looking at all those pictures.
think a stipulation.
It's
Approved
2
with the
years is not
stipulation.
approved with the- Makes no sense. At least 5.
And Justin, are you okay with that too?
I am. I think setting a 5-year time frame is probably appropriate for this because that does allow them to continue to come back and request an additional CUP of another 5 years if it continues to be a problem.
All right, so Dana, so can we do a motion to change it to 5 years instead of 2?
Absolutely.
Cool, do I have a motion?
Have a motion, conditional use permit and change the period of time, from 2 years to 5 years, in section number 2.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, so all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, nay? Approved it 5 years. And you just changed it as we were doing it, so it says 5 years right there.
There you go.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I
There you
really appreciate it. I love it that you actually went to someone, because sometimes I look out the window and just, I give up.
Well, I went by it figure out what that was gonna look like from the pictures that we had sent to us, so it was interesting.
Yeah, from the road, it's
Also
not
appreciate
nearly as easy as.
what that you're doing to try and alleviate these problems, because I would like your job, it's hard.
That's what we do.
This is easy. Yeah.
I'll leave that.
Thank you.
We're all good, so then we're ready to go on to future agenda items and scheduling meetings.
Dana?
Oh, you got us.
Dana, we lost your audio.
My apologies. No current regulations are coming, or preliminary site plans are coming in, so we should see some, have an active fall here. One update, to the landscape ordinance, we just met with the planning center yesterday, to kick off the city's grant for the water, smart water and landscape irrigation ordinance. They'll be preparing for us on the grant, so excited to see that, and I will make sure that there is some material available right now on schedule that council listed, obviously, but we will reiterate, we're going to do a presentation to you as well. Probably a Q&A or question session, each of you individually possibly, so get a sentiment on landscaping, help them develop that policy. So outside of that, I think you might have like a month off.
Dana, since Justin got his wish list for the landscaping, I want to know what it takes for us to get dark sky designation in Globe.
Yeah, and that's pretty easy. You just prohibit light that goes into the sky. I don't move the Fountain Hills. That's actually where I cut my teeth, where they were dark sky ordinance, but it really was just fully shielded lights. Our lighting code is old, so to that point, yeah, we should probably read the lighting code.
Heck, I've got property out in Six Shooter Canyon, and in February you can see the Milky Way crazy. So 4 miles in, you can't hardly see the stars relative to that. So I think that, and it's a big deal. People come into communities to be able to have, find the dark skies. So I think we should seek that out.
Madam Chair, Commissioner, and Dana, is that something that might come up during the general plan? Is that a general plan topic or dark skies?
It's going to be a good spot, yeah. As a matter of fact, we should look at the existing general plan and see our guidance on lighting as it exists today, and then obviously if it's something that can be introduced as well.
I know one of the issues we have is ADOT's going to LED lights in the neighborhoods, but they change them as they go out, and so you dark light, dark light, dark, and
I have zero expertise in it, but if there's something informed or done, I would love to be involved.
And then just as a consideration, as we research that and bring it to Globe, we may want to work with Miami on that, right? Because what Miami does is going to affect the sky that we see. And we have a lot of industries on that side that while dark skies sounds nice, it's going to be a huge shift for them. So just consider that in the dialogue that we want to have around this good topic.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, the mine definitely does put a little damper on it for Miami, but I still think it's something we should be looking at.
Great point. And then I do need to bring back the text amendments. Got like 3 sitting for you, so I would say in a month, hopefully. It'll probably take 45 days to look at. We'll have some movement. Maybe I'll get some just draft language and give you some options to provide direction to get that out to the public and then hearing process. So.
Anybody else have anything? Nope. Do I have a motion?
I make a motion that meeting adjourned.
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
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 No nays. Meeting adjourned.
thank you all.
Bye, everybody.